Welcome back to episode 4, part 2. Of
3B.
3B, whatever.
3-2.
It's our 4th upload.
3 part 2.
Of everything we know about showbiz. Let's get into specifics. Episode A was pretty general about business in general. Covered a lot of really great things. Check it out if you haven't. Now we're gonna get into specifics because that's where the meat is. So, first question to you.
To me, you're questioning me.
First question to you. What was what stands out as like one of the most like awe-inspiring, this is what I've always dreamed of jobs you've ever done, where you were just like, wow, and you probably had that feeling of like, I've made it. What's like the pinnacle of that?
I'm not sure if I've had that yet. To be perfectly honest, I'm always really excited to be on set, and I'm always really excited to do my own projects and to be creative as well.
All right, well then tell me what's in the lead. Like what's one of the finest experiences you've had, either getting the role or the audition or being on set and actually in the moment of working and being like, wow, this is fantastic. Because that's what every young actor dreams of. They want to have those moments. They're not in it for the money. They're in it for the moments.
I mean, the most rewarding would have been starting from scratch. Honestly.
www.startingfromscratchmovie.com.
And I didn't say that so he could say that. But
I gave you that. I gave you that experience. That makes me very happy.
Yeah. But what was great about that experience was that, I could become the producer as well, and I could put on that hat, which I'd done before, but not to that capacity. This was a feature. It was... I had to deal with, Screen Actors Guild. I had to deal with distribution. Once it was done, we had to deal with festival submissions. That was all pretty new in a lot of ways. Casting.
Contracts, casting.
Yeah, so
props, wardrobe, makeup.
Catering.
You did everything.
Wow, my friend also helped.
Yeah.
But
you were the wrangler on all of those things.
I wore way too many hats for a film set.
That's what we agreed to do.
That's what indie film is. So that was rewarding in that, even though it was really stressful, and I had to then, 1 minute I was cooking pasta for 12 crew, and then the next minute I was crying in a scene. It was. What was great about that experience was that the discipline of having to wear so many hats meant that I didn't get too indulgent in one thing or the other, because I didn't have time. I could just, acting and producing.
You were firing on every cylinder, and there's not many times in your life where you can say that.
The multitasking was epic.
Every single thing you're capable of was on fire. And if you don't know, Starting From Scratch is a film that we produced together, that we both star in. And it landed a distribution deal, and it went through the festival circuit and won a lot of awards that are sitting right up there. I don't talk about those awards because I don't want to sound pretentious, but we won a lot of awards.
Well, you'd be pretentious if you could actually see the awards in the back. The awards
in the
background.
I would put them right next. Yeah, I should put them right here.
And we're just like sitting there.
They're
with
like
awards.
Collecting dust out of sight. They're not. You can't even see them.
Instead, you have like our DVD collection and trinkets.
So we produced the film that I wrote and directed, and I wrote and directed after meeting and falling in love and becoming engaged and eventually married to you, and it was a wonderful and difficult experience. But yeah, it's one of those things where every single thing you're capable of, emotionally and mentally and physically, we were exhausted day after day after day after day after day, and it was incredible.
We were kind of in autopilot, but. We got it done.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, we got it done. It came together, and we're really proud of what.
And people genuinely love the movie, and that's all I ever wanted.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a great experience, just as a life experience as well, and that's why that's at the top of the list. I mean, I've also had amazing, TV experiences, and having the great trailer and having the makeup done and the hair done, and you have your own makeup and hair artist, and you have the producer coming up to you, and
You know what's really
that's all very
you know what's really
complimentary too.
I don't want to dwell too much on starting from scratch and toot my own horn, but what's really lovely to me is that after some of the screenings we've had, friends of mine who I've known for years, longer than I've known you, would come up to me because they were just sort of getting to know you. They would say, "Oh my God, your wife is an incredible actor," and they would talk
That's
about
nice.
they would talk about
I don't
how
know if I
scenes in
knew
the
that.
film they were in tears watching you, and your performance in that film is really extraordinary, and I was just so proud and fulfilled by so many of our friends saying something about that, because that was a big sort of we shot that film. We got married in the summer, and that fall we shot that movie. We
Yeah.
spent the rest of the summer in pre-production.
We basically came back
and then
from our honeymoon
when
and started
we
pre-production.
were married 3 months when we started filming. So you were like my brand new bride, and a lot of my friends didn't know you.
Nice.
And that was sort of like their first. They really felt they got to know you because you bore your soul.
Yeah, and one of the, we both know this, one of the beauties of making your own stuff is that you feel really connected to the material, and you just, I mean, one thing that I remember is just how quickly I could learn the lines, because I just was so familiar with the material, not just the writing, but just the character, and I hadn't really done that much focused, actor work
You
on
didn't
it.
have to.
I
The
actually
role was
didn't
written
know.
for you, and it was
Right.
about you by me.
Well, it's not completely about me, but I am definitely an essence.
You were the
in
vehicle that
character.
drove the story, and it was the circumstances wasn't based on you, but the character was based on you.
Yeah.
And you did all the table reads, and you did all the edits, and you
And I
you read the
helped you
script.
with the
You read the script 20
and-
times before we said it was a locked script. So by the time
Yeah.
it was a locked script and you started to learn your lines, it was easy for you by then.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I saw it in some of its first incarnations before I even knew you, before we were even romantically involved. So, and
another
then
story.
in the edit room as well, like that was one thing I really enjoyed, that just once the film was done, helping. I can't physically do the editing. I don't know how to. You're great at that. But I love being the eye saying, oh, cut here and this.
Let me use that to transition into what the topic of this whole talk is, which is everything that we know about showbiz. Talked a lot about acting, so let's use that experience and branch off into some of the other facets of our unique perspective, in that you've done so many jobs outside of acting in the world of filmmaking and producing and production management and even finance. And I've worked a lot as an editor, a producer, a camera operator. More recently, I'm doing a lot more cinematography because that's the skill that I'm really trying to hone in
that's
on.
what you want to focus on a little bit.
So let's branch out into what it means to be. We're actors through and through. That's our primary.
I mean, look, if someone
nature.
wanted to hand me a script, a great script, and say, here, play the lead, obviously that would be the priority.
Right.
But we're a bit more realistic.
That
we still have our dreams,
that
but
leads
we're
me
still
to
being
think about
realistic.
actors are I don't mean this in a bad way. They're self-centered. They have to be. They have to be very focused on what they're doing to do their job well. But that leads to being a bit of a self-centered personality, because you've been wearing so many different hats for so many years. What are some of the pitfalls that you would advise a young actor to not fall into? Like, what are some of the big no-nos? You've been a producer, you've been a production manager, and actors are... I hear you just in the other room go, "Ah!" And I'm like,
as
what's
a
the matter?
production manager?
No, and not just the production manager, everything. What are, even you being an actor at 20 years old, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I'm sure I committed like a lot of the things
a lot of faux pas
have annoyed me.
What are some of the things you would warn a young actor about, to like, okay, you're going to start getting some professional auditions, you're going to start doing some professional jobs. Here's some things to know. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what are some of the moments in your career that you're embarrassed by, or you've learned a hard lesson from the hard way.
I mean,
'Cause I got plenty. I want to hear yours.
I mean, I think some of the main pitfalls, and don't get me wrong, like, I really don't think anything can sabotage your career unless you're a real asshole. But, you know, these little rookie mistakes, they're forgiven eventually. Everyone's green at some point. So
Forgiven eventually? Are they?
I don't think, well, it depends what level it is. But, like, you know, if I'm not going to hire someone again because of a rookie mistake that they made, someone else doesn't know that rookie mistake happened.
Gotcha.
And they have a chance
but you may not hire them again. And
but I mean, thank God for second chances, because I may not have been hired again. Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like I've been a party to both of those sides where I've made a mistake where they have never hired me again.
Yeah, totally.
And I've been in a position where I'm like, I'm never going to hire that person or refer that person again.
Totally. And that's how it works. Yeah. And I think from experience, both my own and from being on the other side, either in casting or, I would say casting and production managing is kind of where I've had most contact with actors specifically, would be, you know, just slow your roll a little bit. You know, don't be too over eager, because that can come off as desperation. It can also mean that you don't listen necessarily when people are speaking to you, because you're so eager and so caught up in, you know, what you're going to do in the take, or, you know, how you're going to be on set, that you actually don't listen effectively and end up not giving the production what they need.
You need to get more specific. Give me an example, like a real world example.
I mean, I think, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, and, you know, on set.
You can change names here. Be specific.
No. I mean, I don't have anything specific. I can.
It happens a lot.
There's a lot that kind of becomes an amalgam of things that generally don't. And I would say that there's a time and place for everything. Like, don't use a set where you have a time constraint, you know, crew members that are dealing with a whole other host of things. So is the director, so is the producer, so is the other cast. So don't use that as an opportunity to network or to tell the producer about your projects, or you know, ask the director how you can become a director, or ask the series regular how you can become
all the time.
Series regular. You know,
they're not there to coach you. They're there to do a job. Leave them alone.
Yeah, use acting class. Use, you know, a lot of people are now kind of using personal managers, or, you know, life coaching and things like that to kind of get those answers, or there's a lot of great, like, social media forums, a lot of Facebook groups that answer questions like that. So use those resources. Don't use being on set, especially, you know, if you're an extra co-star, guest star. If you're a day player, you know, don't use that short window of time that you're on set to try and network. Use that time to learn how a crew works, learn about hitting your mark, you know, how the cameras work, what angles might be on you, how lights work. Just really observe. I think that's the most important thing for people. Just don't talk about your amazing script that you have.
That makes me think of a very specific instance that embarrassed me about observing. It was like, I've done like 9 episodes of General Hospital over like 3 years, just playing a generic cop. It was like a day player role. And like episode 4, I felt like everybody was comfortable and they knew me by that point. People would say hi to me, high-five me.
You were recurring at that point.
Yeah, I did a bunch of episodes over like 3 years. I'm not like Perry Shen or anything, but I got to show up on set a bunch of times, and it was like episode 4 and everybody was really friendly and familiar with me. So there was one instance where I was just observing, and I had done my rehearsal in the morning, and it wasn't time for me to like get in wardrobe yet because I had like another 4 hours until my scene was up. So after my rehearsal, they started filming, and I'm a big watcher because I like to sponge up every bit I can anytime I'm on a professional set and watch and observe how people work.
And I should just say, soap operas are amazing things to observe because they move so fast. Actors have to learn a ton of dialogue super quick. You don't know where the director is because they're up in some crane up in the sky.
Theater people will know what this means.
They're the best training ground.
Soap operas are filming tech week. That's what a soap opera is.
Yeah.
If you're it works like a theater production. And then when you're in tech week where you're this close to the final performance, they film it and that's the final performance.
Yeah. And you get one take.
And you get one take or two if something goes wrong on a camera.
Technically.
So like if your performance is bad, they don't care. If something technically goes wrong, like the camera operator is like, I missed the focus mark. They can say, I want to do another take. Or the director will be like, I didn't buy that performance. I need you to I need to assert my directing.
They're not very performance based. You just have to.
You just got to nail it.
You've got to bring it.
You get one take, and if something goes wrong technically, you'll get a second take.
Yeah.
So that's what it's like. It's like filming tech week in theater. So I do my rehearsal, and then they go right back to filming, and I just stayed down in the pit and watched because I absorb and watch and learn, and that's how I learned how to do so many jobs. Like I don't even want to say this, but I've been a first AD, a first assistant director on a lot of films, and I hate it. It's the worst job on set. It is the worst job on set. But I learned how to do that by observing first ADs and seeing the bad ones and seeing the good ones, and learning how to do it and understanding how to run a set. So I like to watch, and after like 15 minutes of me like just still hanging out in the pit in the set watching. The first AD came right up to me and goes, what are you doing here? And this is like my 4th episode. And I was like, I was just watching and learning. And he goes, you need to go to your dressing room.
Oh, really?
You can't be down here.
Really?
If you're not acting. And I was like, okay, sorry.
Really?
Yeah, he kicked me out.
Because network shows don't care if you watch, do they?
No, network shows don't care because the sets aren't so like rigid. The sets, like, you could just hang out and watch if you want. Soap operas have holding areas. You have dressing rooms. They want you to be in where you're supposed to be at all times. I don't know why. But, yeah, the first AD came up to me, and I thought we were cool. Like, I've worked on them a bunch of times, and he was like, yeah, you need to go to your dressing room.
Was he pissed off?
No, but he just didn't know why I was, like, hanging out and watching.
Like, why would you want to?
I don't know. And I had watched a lot of soap operas. Like I said,
did you work again on the show after that?
That was like episode 4. I did like 9 episodes.
Okay.
Okay. So actually, let me fall into the next thing. Here's a chip on my shoulder, and we could let's talk about this. So, I was with an agency for 6 years, and for like 6 years, I had survived that annual cleansing thing they go through every April, May, around the time college kids,
after pilot season.
Just after pilot season, when college kids are doing their showcases.
And episodic's going to
college kids, 20 to 22-year-olds are putting on their performances, and agents go and watch and say, that's going to be my next star. They clean house. It's a brutal process. They cut actors that aren't doing it for them, and they take on new actors.
Not maybe making money.
Right.
I mean, it's a business after all.
And that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So after 6 years of working a lot, I think, for an agency, they cut me. And that was a hard pill to swallow. I hadn't been cut by an agency in like, I don't even know how long.
Have you been ever cut?
I don't think so.
I don't think you have.
I more often would find another agent and
tell
my old agency.
You were ever cut.
I would say to them, I just want to say thank you for all the work, but I'm going to move on to a different agency. Blah 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 blah.
I've been cut a few times.
So, I think it had more to do with becoming a dad and taking a lot of voluntary time off. That's what I think happened.
Maybe.
Because
you weren't as
statistically speaking, I made myself unavailable for a lot of months.
Did you book out?
A lot. because we would go to New York to visit my family, then we go to
Yeah.
Australia to visit your family.
Yeah, I mean, agents don't really like you booking out, and I get it.
And I did a
because
lot
you're not
as soon
available
as
to
soon as I
work.
became a dad. I booked out a lot, and that's what I suspect, because
Yeah.
there's no way they could have cut me for my booking ratio. I booked a lot of work that year.
Well, I know the agent you're talking about, and I live with you, so I know how many jobs you get and how many auditions you get. Your audition to booking ratio, like your booking ratio is so good for you compared to your audition ratio, because you
I don't go on a lot of auditions.
you don't go out a lot. And that particular agent, I think before you were cut, like you weren't even going out, so you weren't even being given the opportunity to book. Yeah. So it was one of those things, and that might not have been their fault. You going, like, they may have been submitting you, and maybe for whatever reason you weren't being called in. It was,
This is
that
boring.
happens.
I don't want. Okay,
that happens. So,
but it does make me think about.
It's me right now.
Let me think about. It makes me think about auditions. Let's foray into auditions. What you just said made me think about how hostile or friendly the audition waiting room can be.
With
Let's
other
talk about
actors.
that. I don't know what it's like for you. You've told me some stories. I've told you some stories. For me, I'm in a pocket of a smaller minority of the Asian American male community.
Uh-huh.
We are very underrepresented in the industry. So when there is an audition, I tend to run into a bunch of guys I know.
Yeah, of course.
We're all friends.
Yeah.
We've played basketball. We've played poker. We've gone to parties and karaoke. A lot of the same guys that I know. Every so often you'll run into a guy that you don't know that well, and there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like a little bit of a standoffish nature. That happens from time to time.
I mean, it's a competition to some degree.
I have heard stories that it happens a lot more with Asian American women, whereas Asian American men are generally 90% of the time super cool with each other. We all know each other. We're super cool with each other.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be represented. So
Whereas,
you want one of you to book it.
And I have heard, though, that Asian American women have there's a cattiness and,
really?
and a pretty big standoffish nature. But yeah, any Asian American male audition you go to, the waiting room is more often than not just dudes hanging out, having a good time, chatting, talking, catching up, being like, "What's up, brother?" Ah! Although I have been to auditions where I'm the only Asian guy, and
Yes.
it's just dead silent.
Because you are often put in like the minority bunch. So
And
it's
we all know each
you, African American, Spanish, Latino, maybe, I don't know, maybe Middle Eastern, some sort of
Unrecognizable is another
just
ethnicity.
ambiguous is kind of what, so you're not just in the Asian American lump, you're in the ethnic lump, whatever that
So
means.
nine out of 10 times my audition experience is catching up with my buddies in the waiting room. What is you as a? I mean, you are the quintessential Hitchcock blonde. You are.
There's a lot of us in our way, though.
You are the majority
Yes.
of a industry riddled with masses. You fall into the category of the masses, and that's not
Yes.
easy.
It's not.
I can go 2 doors down and knock on the door, and there's probably a beautiful blonde woman,
Of course.
who's striving to be an actor.
Yeah.
And that is
Or not necessarily blonde. Like,
just the quintessential Hitchcock blonde is what I'm saying.
Just
so what is
30-something
what is
white
the
woman.
what is the audition process like for you? Is it a hostile environment? Is it a friendly environment? Do you not even think about it? Like, does it not even cross your? Because every time I go on an audition, you tend to say like, "Who'd you see today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I saw this guy, and I saw this guy, and it's this guy." And guess what? And I catch up with my buddies. It's a great time.
Yeah, I don't see
You have probably the most opposite experience
I don't
from me.
see the same people very often. I mean, there are definitely people that I'm obviously like categorized with, but it's neither hostile or friendly.
What is it then? It's just quiet.
It's just quiet. I mean, I'll say hi, like personally, but
But you see new people every audition you go to. I see
Yeah.
the same people.
and honestly, I put headphones in a lot of the time, and it's not because I'm trying
You
to
wear
be,
headphones in the audition room?
yeah, it's not because I'm trying to be antisocial. What it is
I didn't know that.
a lot of these audition places are so small that you can hear what's going on in the audition room. I don't want to hear anyone else's audition.
I do.
See, you do, and there's a difference.
I use it.
I don't want to hear it because I don't want to, be like, oh, crazy about it. And like,
I don't want to do what they do.
Well, I also don't want to, either try and like subconsciously copy what they do, or to subconsciously like air so far away from them that I'm totally like not in the right realm at all. So I just prefer to turn off. I prefer to turn off. And that's not a social thing.
I had no idea you wore headphones in audition rooms.
When I remember. I don't always remember them. But yeah, I'll put music on.
I did not know you did that.
And it's not again, it's not me trying to be antisocial. It's me trying to like control my own craziness. I don't like hearing other people, good or bad, or even if like they look nothing like me. I just don't like hearing the material that I'm about to perform.
Nothing drives me crazier than an actor in the waiting room working on their lines. You should show up to the waiting room ready to go. So when I see an actor with their script in hand, be like, I'm just like,
process. It's okay. It's a process. I
hate looking at it. I get into that waiting room and I look at my lines, and I'm just looking at my lines just so I know them, and I'm ready to go. And I just like, okay, what's the first?
That's where you're different.
The first word is you. That's all I need to know. I've prepared this audition, so all I'm trying to do is be like ready to go, like to shoot that 3-point jump shot, whatever. But when I see people in there like going nuts in the audition waiting room, and they're just like,
what is it? Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
I'm just
yellow
thinking,
leather.
are you insane?
Maybe.
Like, what is wrong with you? You should be ready to go right now.
You're putting your process on someone else. That's not cool.
What, you're gonna suddenly get great at auditioning for this role 5 minutes before you get called in?
You're right there. You're not. You're never going to, fix anything.
Look, I don't prepare that much. I don't prepare that much for auditions. I do prepare, but I get into the waiting room and I'm like, oh, I wonder who I'm going to see today. Oh, what's up? It's my buddy. Hey, how you doing?
You're just different. Like, that's okay. Everyone has their process, but you are right in that. If you don't know it by the time you're in the audition
Let me put it this way. If you've ever been my friend and I say what's up to you at the audition room and you're like, sorry, I need to prepare, I silently hate you for like 10 minutes. And then I let it go. And then I'm like, yeah, you're still cool. But in that 10 minutes, I'm just like, oh, sorry, you need to prepare. I can't say what's up. How you been?
Yeah, okay. I think you should allow yourself the permission to say hello to people. No,
I show up in that room ready to go.
I do think that there are people out there, and there's one experience that I had that comes to mind, who try to be overly friendly to sabotage you.
Oh, really?
Maybe, yes.
What makes you think they tried to sabotage?
I mean, I just remember being at this audition once, and there were a few of us waiting there, and we're all just kind of like doing our own thing, whether it be listening on headphones or reading our material or just waiting. And she came in and she was just like, "Hi!" We're just like, "Hi." She's like, "It is so cold outside. It's so cold, right?" It was not cold. It was perfect LA weather.
What the heck?
She was like overly...
That makes me uncomfortable to hear.
And she had the desired effect. She was trying to make us feel like distracted. It was obvious what she was doing.
Wow.
She was just like, I'm going to come in here and
That's maniacal.
Bombard everyone with my personality, and they won't know what's hit them. I'm only signing in. They've already signed in. They're about to go in. Like, I'm going to do all this crazy stuff.
I've heard stories about this. I find it maniacal.
For sure.
I didn't know
it is maniacal.
I didn't know you witnessed stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that stuff happens a lot.
See, I've never actually witnessed this, so I have a hard time wrapping my head around it.
It's weird. I mean, why? Why would you do that? I mean, honestly, someone's going to book the job.
It's obviously true because people have spoken about that sort of thing. You've seen it firsthand.
That definitely that stuff happens. Definitely.
I don't even... I've had thousands of auditions. I don't think I've ever seen that happen genuinely. Like, when somebody walks in the room and they make a funny joke...
They just, overdo it.
No, they're, like, genuinely, like... Hey, what about those meter maids crawling over Santa Monica Boulevard right now? It's like, oh, yeah, okay, did you feel your meter? Like people are genuinely being chatty because...
Your people?
They're just trying to be chatty and friendly.
Well, that's a difference. That's a difference. That's when you can... But, like, you can tell the difference between someone that's just, like...
It's like the ultimate passive-aggressive hostile...
Traffic's really bad. Thing. Like, you know when someone's just like, oh, geez, like, you know... And you can tell when someone's trying to be...
It's the only hostile thing I've ever experienced where somebody's like, sorry, I need to prepare. Just don't talk to me. That's the only hostility I've ever experienced.
See, and I feel like in that case, I feel like you could just say, hi, how you doing? I'll talk to you after. Like, you don't have to say, oh, sorry. You could just say, hi, nice to see you. Let's you know, if I see you when I come out, let's chat. And then get back to your work. Like, I think it's totally fine for actors to want to take time to work. You don't have to explain yourself. This is where we're going to differ.
We differ.
Okay.
It's okay to differ.
I mean, I like to focus. Maybe that's subconsciously why I put headphones in my ears. Maybe that's another thing.
I think you are so prepared when you get in the car to leave the apartment that...
Not
it doesn't
lately.
matter what you do in the waiting room.
Not compared to what I used to be, because life's just, there's too much going on.
All right, so let's move on to the next facet of this amazing podcast we're having.
Oh, time check.